Hey team, welcome back to the channel, man. As always, I am stoked and pumped up to see you. I wanted to take a few minutes today and talk about a few key critical areas that I think we need to master in order to be better prepared to deal with the adversities and challenges of life, whether we're out here in the wilderness or in an urban jungle, whatever it is. I think these are a few things that we don't spend enough time talking about. Maybe it's because they're not things that we do so much per se, but if we don't get these things right, the things that we're going to do is never going to work out as well as we need it to. And before we get going, I want to let you know that every time that you like and share one of my videos, my flask is filled with the tears of a commie. Oh yeah, come on, that's America in a bottle right there. Come on. I want to get your thoughts and your comments down below. Maybe you have a few other things that we need to keep and bear in mind, as we're talking about some of these things that, in my opinion, are just extremely important. In my opinion, as far as I can tell, are the second order of things that we need to get right. The first one is we need to understand why. We need to know that purpose. Does that make sense? Like, you need to know the why first. The why has to come first. In fact, I would submit to you that it does, in fact, always, come first. Whether or not it's intentional or not, that's another matter. But we need to get these few key critical areas. We need to start to master them if we're going to truly master our craft and develop our tactical virtue, man. That's what this channel is all about. The first area I want to talk about is relationships. Right? I think whether or not you're a man, woman, or child, we need to grow an understanding of how to build relationships. Does that make sense? Like, I need to know what makes people tick. I need to know how to engage people in a healthy way to get towards the end state that we're trying to get after. If I can't do that, when I go and I encounter somebody, then everything's going to fall apart. And I would challenge all of us to just look around on social media platforms, in a workplace, in an environment, in our home, and in our personal relationships. All of our key friction areas all come back down to not being able to truly master what it means to build relationships. This is not something that we can just learn from in a book. It's something that we learn from experience, and we learn through introspection of thinking about things, listening twice as much as we talk, right? Understanding that in basic communication, I have a message that is sent, I have a message that is received, and I have a message that was meant to be received. Learning to deal more with humanities in these key critical areas, whether we're talking about political, economic, social, spiritual, financial, understand how to interact with people. So critically important. The other area I think that we do talk quite a bit about, especially out here in the woods, but it's some basic trade skills, right? Like, I think we should be better adept at doing some basic trade skills, not just things like food, fire, water, shelter, first aid, navigation, maintain a core body temp, self-defense. I think we need to spend more time with learning some basic auto mechanics, learning some basic plumbing and electric skills. How do I use a hammer and nails? How do I use a socket set, right? These are things that I think that are getting lost far too often in today's society, where we put more pressure on intellect. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But we spend more time talking about, all of these things, that there is no fruit of the labor. We want to talk about social justice, but I don't know how to change a dadgum tire, right? Maybe you've known some folks that could use a little bit more trade skills in their lives. And truth be told, like, if you just go out and look at the job market, man, I'm telling you, a blue-collar laborer is something that we have a tendency in society to look down on. But average folks like you and I, we understand the value of working with our hands, right? We need to learn how to work with our hands. And so another key area I think that we need to learn how to master is leadership. How do I lead myself first, right? Because if I can't do that, then I'm not going to be able to lead somebody else. How can I be a good follower first? If I don't know how to follow, I'm never going to learn how to lead. So if you're in a position of being led, you need to put your best foot forward and help those whose charge that you're in. And whether or not you're just leading yourself, maybe you're leading a small team, maybe it's a small crew at work, at a construction site, in an office environment, whatever it is, take care of those who are in your charge. Learn how, again, knowing how to deal with people, learn how to lead, teach, coach, and mentor those who are in your charge to be able to accomplish your organizational goals. We don't spend too much time talking about leadership, just like we don't do with relationships. We just assume that everybody passes through this membrane and automatically knows how to lead, because then we put people in position without actually training them. Does that make sense? How do we get after these things? Through experience, through talking and after action review, like after specific moments and key training events, or goals, or some benchmarks, some phase lines that we have set up, sitting down and intentionally talking and looking at things, knowing ourselves and seeking self-improvement, right? That's the first first principle of leadership. But we don't do this far near enough. And so many of our younger generation is emerging into the workforce, and they're being led by people who don't know how to lead. So it's up to you and I to do everything that we can within the capacity and the framework and the sphere of influence that we have to teach those who are willing to listen. You know, on that note, man, if you're willing to learn, nothing can stop you. But if you're unwilling to learn, nobody can help you. Right? So next up is our physical and mental fitness, right? I think we don't spend enough time dealing with just our physical fitness. I think we're becoming a society, I hate to say it, of fat bodies, but because it's not just people who are overweight, who are out of shape. I know plenty of folks who might have a little bit more mass on their bodies, who are in some great physical shape. They know how to endure. They have been dealt with adversity. They know how to deal with pain in their bodies and know how to keep pushing forward. Another step forward, another step forward. You just keep shuffling. But again, like with most things in life, if we don't get out and exercise, our bodies are never going to learn how to deal with muscular fatigue, mental fatigue, and that's what gets most of us most of the time, right? I don't want to deal with that. I don't have time. I'm just going to stop. Well, friends, if a true catastrophic event happens, if you're not physically and mentally prepared to deal with those challenges, you can expect what you inspected throughout the duration of your training. And that's to fall by the wayside. Now, that's unacceptable on my watch, and I'm sure it is on yours. Another key area that I've learned, dealing with my own kids growing up, we don't spend enough time talking about finances, how to maintain a budget, how to maintain a checkbook, right? Maybe I'm old school. Are you old school? We keep a checkbook and maintain close eye on our balance sheets. My wife does a phenomenal job at that. And I know how to pick up if she's out of pocket to take care of that as well. Knowing and understanding how much of our finances should be used to maintain a house, how much I can use to consume with food, how much to spend on a vehicle. Some basic things. We like to teach some Common Core math, right? But we don't like to teach people this is the practical application of these skills. It's critically important, I think, to be able to learn how to master our finances, not stay in debt. It's okay to have some deficit spending, but as we've seen with our nation as a whole, if we get too far in debt, then somebody else owns us. And that's a leash that I'm not willing to have yanking on my neck all the time and being the watchdog of somebody else. I want to be self-sufficient. I want to be self-reliant. But I can't do that if I'm consistently tied to other people for my well-being and I'm in debt up to my ears with just trying to keep up with the Joneses. And what are we doing? We have to do better than that. And the last thing I want to share with you is, in fact, our intellect. I think we should spend, there was a time, right? There was a time when folks like you and I would sit down face to face, maybe in a study, and we would crack open some books and we would read and we would talk about things. We would read the newspaper, right? We didn't just get all of our news from the television set or from the internet. We would read newspapers and magazines and journals. We would read books. We would have libraries where we would continue in the self-development domain of learning by honing our skills. You see, if we begin to master these things, and again, maybe you have some other ones that you can leave down in the comments below so we can continue to keep this conversation rolling. But if we begin to master these half a dozen basic skills, then no matter what we face, we are prepared to overcome and to push through them. Maybe it's a plumbing issue at the house. Maybe it's some furniture that needs repair. It's that kitchen chair, right? That's starting to wibble, wobble, and fall apart. Well, you don't just need to throw it away. You just need to learn how to fix and repair it. Maybe it's changing a thermostat, like I did with my daughter's car this weekend, and showed her what I was doing and why I was doing it. And what's the what's next if this doesn't work. Maybe it's planning for a vacation. Maybe it's dealing with a vehicle breakdown on the side of the road and it's wintertime and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. How are you going to just basically survive on the side of the road? What are you going to do if you're out of cell phone coverage? How are you going to deal with things out here in the wild? Again, we can't do these things and prepare for these things if we're not utilizing these basic skill sets that we need to master. So friends, I hope you enjoyed the content of the conversation. If you did, make sure you like it, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell so you can stay up to date on some future content. Consider sharing this out with somebody that you think could use these 6 skills in their kit bag. And we will continue to grow and keep this conversation rolling, man. I appreciate all you guys. You stay out there, you keep grinding, and you stay stoked. Don't forget to fill up my flask.